Hey everyone, this is Tara, the Painted Cicada, and welcome. I just wanted to create this fun free lesson called Springtime Garden to celebrate reaching 10,000 followers on my Facebook page. So this is a big thank you to everybody who follows me. I hope you take a few minutes to be creative today and paint this fun springtime garden with me. So I'm using an 11 by 14 canvas. I've got it set up landscape. You're going to need the basics. So I've got some paintbrushes, some water, a paper towel, a palette plate to put my paint on, and then I've just got kind of a rainbow variety of colors today. I am using titanium white, medium magenta, vivid red orange, let's see, cadmium yellow deep. I've got light green permanent, bright green, bright aqua green, and then turquoise blue. So certainly this is just a rainbow of colors. You can substitute or change up the colors however you would like. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just sketch out the pattern, the composition that I want to do today. And we're doing flowers, spring flowers like wildflowers. And so I'm just going to sketch them in to get a composition that I like. And I'm going to do this in pencil. I'm going to try to press fairly dark so that you can see on the screen, but as you're drawing yours, you want to go a little bit lighter so that we don't see the pencil marks through the acrylic paint. We're going to do this in kind of a watercolor style, so I do want to make sure that you go light as you're drawing so that you don't see your pencil marks later. So the first thing that I'm going to do over here on the left side is I'm going to draw a line that curves slightly to the right, and then we are going to have two little stems that come off the end there, and then up at the top I am going to draw a little two little stems that go off the top, and then down here we'll make this one two, and then down here we'll have another with three at the end. Okay, so that is the first part, and then I'm going to mimic this over on this side here, and this time I'm going to go a little bit shorter. So I've got my tall stem here, make like a little, this is my little chicken footprint at the top. And then we're gonna have, let's see, we'll do one here, and I'll just fork that off, and then let's see, we'll do one here, and I'll have three on this side, my little chicken footprint. All right, and then let's see, I want to do one more of these. So if this is my halfway point, I'm just going to go, you know, slightly to the left of that. And this one I want to be the tallest of these three, but not all the way to the top. So I'll maybe go three-quarters of the way up my canvas, and then I'm gonna just start making some little branches off so that I can put flowers at the end of these. So my little chicken feet, more chicken feet, of course yours can be totally different from mine. We're just kind of planning our composition, so feel free to change these wildflowers as they suit you. All right, let's see, let's vary this up a little bit. So over here I am going to let's see, I want a tall flower, so I want maybe the top of this tall flower to be like right here. So I'm going to draw a circle. And then the stem. And I do want a smaller version of this same flower, maybe right here. So another circle and a stem. And then, let's see, I'm going to do another tall set of flowers. Here. So this time, on this flower, I'm going to make a little V where the flower connects, and then just kind of a wavy circle at the top there. I'm going to paint over this, so I'm just deciding where my shapes are going at this point. And then this is going to branch out just a little bit, and then we're going to have a second version of this same wavy flower. And then over here, I think I'm going to draw like a curvy fern-ish, some greenery. We need some greenery, right? So I'm going to draw a curve, and then I'm going to add leaves around them, but my leaves are not going to touch. So I'm going to draw these leaves on here like this. And then when I get about halfway to 3/4, I'm going to start making these a little bit smaller. So that my smallest leaves are at the bottom. Let's see, what else can I do? I think over here I'm going to add a smaller version of that fern. So I'm just going to start filling in space. This is where you can view your composition, and wherever you've got open space, start filling that in. Alright, so I've got 2 of those little ferns. What else can I do? I feel like I need something. You know what? I'll make, coming from over here, we will make, I don't know, kind of a long, fluffy purple flower, almost like bluebonnets, Texas bluebonnets. Is that what I'm thinking of? So these I'm just going to, this is going to be kind of long and lots of petals coming off. So I'm going to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then maybe some little ones right there. All right, so this is going to be my composition. On some of these, let's go back and maybe add some leaves, and I'm going to strategically place the leaves where I have some openings in this composition. So over here I've got these 2 tall flowers. I've got room right here for a leaf, and then maybe right here. On these 2, let's see, maybe I'll have a leaf here and a leaf here. So the idea is just to kind of fill in some of this space. I think I like that. I think I'm happy with this composition. I feel like I've got some up and down movement. I feel like most of the space is filled, and I've got a variety of different flowers. So I am happy with that. Let's move on to the next step. So what we're going to do now is add a watercolor wash to the back of our composition here. And so I'm going to get 3 colors out here. I'm going to get my bright green. This is light green permanent. I'm going to get a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to get a little bit of my aqua. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a smidge of water to each of these colors because we are doing a watercolor wash. So I want to loosen those colors up a little bit. Before I even add color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice big brush, dip it in water, and I am going to wet the canvas where I want this wash to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start about 1/3 of the way up, and I'm going to swoop up to that corner. And I'm adding this just right over the outlines, right over everything. We're just making a wash. So I'm adding water. I don't want it to be drippy soppy, but I do want there to be wetness on my canvas here. So I know this is difficult to see on camera, but there you can kind of see the reflection. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this loose green, and I want it to be nice and fluid. So add water until it's thin like watercolor. We want it to have a watery consistency. I'm going to offload my brush. That just means I'm kind of wiping it on the side so I don't have a whole lot of paint on here. And then I'm going to tap in green in all of those wet areas. This is just straight green at this point. And I can go right over my pencil marks because I'm still going to be able to see those since this is just a wash, okay? So adding lots of green, just tapping it in to these wet areas. And then what I can do is get a little bit of this yellow, and I can kind of tap that in various areas as well. And this is all very loose and fluid. And then I can add a little bit of that aqua. And I definitely want my bright green to be the main color here. And then once I've got these colors tapped in, just dip back into some water, and then we're going to kind of swoosh this around. We're going to blend a little bit. Just make sure that you're being loose. You don't want brush marks. You don't want thick paint. You know, just kind of tap and move so that these colors are kind of blendy. Where you get to the edge, clean off your brush, just get some water, and you can kind of, you know, blend this edge out just a little bit so that it's loose and free. So we're definitely just having fun with this wash. Don't overthink it. Just tap in your colors, let them move and blend. You know, if you don't have enough of the aqua, you can add more. If you don't have enough of that yellow, you can add more. But we definitely just want free, loose, watercolory blending. So this is a really fun technique to do with acrylic paint. You don't always have to switch your medium to get, you know, that watercolory pretty background. So get it as bright as you want it. I like to have it kind of just a loose wash. so that the focal point is really going to be those beautiful flowers that we put on top here. But yeah, play with the saturation, play with the colors until you are happy. So I'm just going back in and adding just a little more green. I just want kind of variations in the saturation and that kind of thing. And as this dries, it's really gonna give you that watercolor appearance. And one thing that you can do, you don't have to do, but if you want a softer edge or blend here, before the water dries completely, just take a paper towel and kind of tap the edge just a little bit. And that's going to lighten that edge and kind of make it a little softer for you. All right, so then what you want to do next is let this dry. I'm going to hit mine with my heat gun. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so you don't have to listen to that. Acrylic paint dries fairly fast, so just give this a few minutes, or if you've got a hairdryer or a heat gun, you can zap it on low, and it should be dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. So let's decide on the colors for our composition. So yours can be completely different from mine, but what I'm going to do is just add kind of a base coat to my flowers, and I'm going to decide what color I want everything to be. So for these first two round flowers, I'm going to pull out my turquoise blue. That's a nice bright blue. And for this, I'm not going to worry too much about my edges. I just want to fill in the shape, and I want to cover up my pencil lines. So I'm using this right out of the bottle, no thinning this time. So this layer is going to just be acrylic. And I'm just adding that first layer. So this is not going to be where we end up. I'm just planning out my colors, and I want these to be nice and bright. So making sure I go over those pencil lines, that way I don't have to worry about that later. So I'm going to have those nice bright turquoise flowers there. I definitely want some nice bright pink flowers, so I'm going to pull out my medium magenta here. And this is straight from the tube again, nice thick acrylic, and I'm just going to fill in this shape and go over those pencil lines. And that's just so I don't have to worry about them later, but don't focus too much on making your shapes perfect. We're just planning out our composition still at this point, choosing our colors, and we're going to come back through and add layers to this. So I'm not worried about the shape of my flowers. I'm just filling in color. And then right here in the middle, I think I want this one to be purple. So I'm going to make my purple. I didn't pull out a purple. So I'm going to use magenta and that turquoise and mix it up until I get kind of a purpley shade here. And I'm probably going to lean a little more towards the magenta than the blue. Just because we're working with flowers, I want them to be a little bit on the brighter side. So for these flowers right now, I'm just going to, most of them just need to be kind of a thick brush stroke. I'm using this round and I'm just kind of pushing down. Some of them might overlap and that's fine. And then about halfway down I'm going to stop because down here these are going to be leaves. All right, so that is my purple color. And then I'm going to go back to my yellow, and I want this yellow to be undiluted. But at the ends of each of my little chicken feet, I'm just going to add a little yellow dot. So those are going to be my yellow flowers. And by doing this, kind of this base coat and choosing my colors, it helps me, you know, decide what color to use next because I can see it all here on my composition. And then we're covering up those pencil marks, so I don't really have to worry about those when I'm doing my flowers. So that's kind of the point behind this. Because this wasn't a pre-planned lesson, right? I'm creating this as I go. So this is kind of my thought process here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is get out some of the light green that I have. And what I had on my palette here was diluted. So I'm going to get some that doesn't have any water in it. And then I'm going to come back through and I'm going to do anything that has leaves. So I'm going to do my base coat on these leaves. Which includes these fern shapes. And again, move quickly. We're not focused on details at this point. We're just adding down that first layer of color. Refining some of those pencil marks, making sure that, you know, we like the shapes that we have. Alright, so I'm feeling pretty good about these colors. Oops. Don't want to forget to add the green over here. And kind of at this point, what you're going to want to do is look at your composition and then decide if it feels full, right? So if, you know, I feel like as I'm looking at this, there's a big gap in anywhere on my piece, I could add in more leaves. I could add in, you know, more of these little yellow flowers. So this is where you kind of look at the colors, where they are, look at the composition and see if anything needs to be added. I feel like I'm good right now, so I can move on to the next step. So I'm going to add some detail on my blue flowers. And what I'm going to do is put some white on my palette. And we are going to mix up 3 different shades of this blue right here. I think, do I want aqua? I think I might even have a little aqua. Let's put a little aqua on our palette. Okay. So, as far as brushes go, I am going to use a little, let's see, a small flat, about this size. Okay. And what I'm going to do, so this blue here is going to be the darkest blue of our flower. Okay, so the blue right out of the bottle, that is my turquoise blue. Okay, so I'm going to put, so I've got that, then I've got this here. This is going to be our medium blue. So I'm going to mix blue and turquoise. Just to get a little, you know, slightly different variation of that color. My blue pigment is fairly strong, so I need to add a little more turquoise than the blue. Okay, so that's about halfway, and then I'm going to add a little white to this mix. So I want it to be lighter. We're thinking about 1 to 2 shades lighter would be good. All right, so there's my second color. So I've got 2 different shades there. And then white is going to be my third color for this flower. Okay, so I've got my colors mixed up. What I'm going to do is dip into this blue, and I'm going to start, we'll start with this one. I'm going to make, this is going to be hard to see, so I'm going to show you back here on my palette. So what I'm going to do is just make short, quick strokes like this around the bottom of my flower. It's going to be difficult for you to see because it's going to be blue on blue. But this step is important, and I'm going to go from the outside all the way across the bottom here, and I'm going to do 2 rows of these little blue strokes. Then I'm going to offload my brush, and this is where you're going to actually be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to dip into this medium blue color, and I'm going to pull down and I'm going to do 2 rows of the lighter blue. Offload. I'm not washing, I'm just offloading. And then I'm going to dip into white. And I'm going to add 2 or 3 rows across the top. And that's how I create that flower. And then if you want to just add a little variation at the bottom, you can pull in a few strokes. So that was a very easy wildflower to make. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Dip into that darker blue. Offload. I did my 2 rows. Now the lighter blue. And then I finish it off with the white. And this is where you can kind of see why that underlayer is important. We don't have to worry about filling in every little piece of the flower because we've got that tone from the underlayer peeking through. See, isn't that fun? And then I'll just come back through and add a little bit down there at the bottom. So those are our blue flowers. Quick and easy. So next we're going to move on to another set of flowers. So let's do our purple flower next. So for that I'm going to need, we've got our purple color already mixed up, and then magenta and a little bit of white. So I'm still going to use a flat brush. So I'm going to clean this one off. I don't want any blue in there, although blue plays well with purple, so if it's just a little, that's fine. The first thing, so this color is the same as this, and I need to lighten it just a pinch. So I'm going to add some white in here to start off with. Okay, because I want this to be a little bit different than what we've got. All right, so I've got purple on my little flat brush here, and what I'm going to do is at the top I'm going to make the same strokes, the same type of strokes that we did on these blue flowers, but I'm going to do them just at the tippy top. So maybe 3 there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just pulling them inward on these purple petals. All right, then I'm going to wipe off my brush. Now I'm going to add some magenta to this color. I'm going to change it. So just another variation. Then I'm going to add this magenta, a few strokes at the bottom. And this is just loose and free. We're just giving the impression of flowers, okay? And then I'm going to mix in a bit more white. I'm going to lighten this quite a bit. All right, and for this step, I'm going to get a thin, let's see, just a thin round. And then I'm just going to add in a few strokes here and there on each petal with this lighter color, just adding variation. So it doesn't even matter kind of where you put it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And it just adds a little zhuzh, a little depth to that flower. And I will lift this up so you can see it a little closer. So the base coat still pokes through. You know, we added our first couple streaks around the edges, we added more pink around the base, and then I came through with that lighter color, and it's just making quick brush strokes in a variety of shades of that purple, and it makes that flower come to life. Really fun. Okay, so let's move on to the pink. All right, for these little pinkies, I am going to get some more of my medium magenta. My palette's kind of a mess. And then I'm going to get this bright orange. This is Vivid Red Orange. All right, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take that medium magenta and I'm going to add an equal part of white, and I'm going to mix that up so that we have a lighter shade of pink. All right, so I've got my brightest orange, and then I've got that light pink. And here is what we are gonna do. Clean off this brush here. All right. So using the same brush that I used for the other two flowers, it's kind of a medium to small flat. Make sure it's nice and clean because purple doesn't play well with orange. Okay, I'm going to dip into this bright orange, and I am going to add a little orange down here at the bottom of my flower. All right, then I'm going to wipe off my brush. We're going to dip into this light pink, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with quick brush strokes downward and move those out. I get pretty good coverage there. I'm going to wipe off this brush, and then I'm just going to start pulling the pink down and the orange up. Then I'm going to dip in some white, and I am going to pull the white downward from that edge. And this is all wet, so this is all kind of blending. And if you want to, you can go back in and blend a little bit of that pink back in there if it reads too orange. And that's it. That's our pink flower. So over here I've got my orange. I'm going to blend pink down, blend orange up. And I'm going to come back with some white, blend the white downward. And then I can come back through and add little pops of pink in there. And that's just going to give the illusion of lots of petals. So those are our flowers. Now we need to add some more details on our leaves, and then we're going to do stems. All right, I'm going to get a clean paper towel here. All right, what we're going to do for these leaves, I'm going to continue working with that same flat brush. I'm going to get all that pink out of there. All right, what I want to do now is I'm going to use some green, and I'm going to mix it with yellow, and we're just going to add some highlight on our leaves. So I would say 2 parts yellow to 1 part of our bright green, and this is just going to create kind of a light grassy green color. You can add a pinch of white if you want to, but you don't have to go too light. I like my colors bright. I don't like them very dull, so it's totally up to you how much white and yellow you add. But we definitely want a different shade of green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through, and on the top of each leaf, I'm just going to add kind of a pull, one brush stroke of this leafy green. Which is easier to do on the larger leaves. This just adds a little variation. Layers and variation are what bring a painting together, for sure, for sure. On these little ones over here, I'm just going to be really cautious, and instead of adding a brush stroke, I'm just going to tap a little bit of that color in there, just because it's a small space. These are tiny. All right. I also am going to go back and add a little variation to these yellow, but that's going to be kind of in my finishing touches. All right, now we're doing stems. What I want to do for the stems is I need some more of this light green permanent. I can actually just plop it right on top of this yellow mixture I made. No sense in wasting paint. And then I'm going to get a nice thin round brush. Let's see. So there's my thin round. I'm going to mix with a different brush just because it's easier to mix with a bigger brush. All right. And what I'm going to do, so I'm going to pop this right on top of this bright green, because why not use it? And I'm going to add the tiniest bit of blue. You could also add aqua, but I don't want this to be too light. I just want it to be the slightest bit different than what we've been working with. So just change it a little bit by adding another color in there. All right. So there's my green. Now, this is especially important if you've got heavy body paint. You want this to be nice and fluid, but not necessarily thin. You don't want it watery. You just want it to have some nice thin fluid paint movement, because we are going to do these stems. So the first thing I'm going to do is up here on this pink flower, I just want to add a little bit of green up around these edges where the flower connects at the base. And then I'm going to do that over here as well. All right. Now this is where I use my nice thin brush, and we're just going to pull in some of these brush strokes. I'm going to move left to right, that way I'm not putting my hand in wet paint. And then we're just going to pull our green stems in. So when we get to our fern, I'm going to connect this top leaf and pull the stem down. And then for each leaf over on the side, I'm going to start halfway up the leaf and connect that to the stem. So halfway up the leaf, connect it to the stem. I'm going to do that for each one. And then these two are pretty easy. We're just going to pull that stem downward. These are just nice straight stems here. Just making sure I cover up that pencil line. And then we've got leaves here, so halfway up the leaf, connect it to that stem. And then here, these yellow flowers got cut off a little bit by my blue, so I'm actually going to go right over the top and I'm going to bring these back out. So right now I'm going to focus on the stem, but I do want to make sure I don't lose those. All right, let's do this purple stem next. So what I'm going to do for this purple stem is I'm going to pull the center stem first. And then I'm going to go back and make sure all these little pieces connect, all these little blooms. And then same down here with the leaves, I'm going to start halfway up and pull those down. Oops. All right, then we've got our pink flowers, so I'm going to pull the stem. The trick to pulling really nice thin lines is to have a liner brush, a nice really thin round brush. And the longer your bristles, the easier it's going to be to make those nice clean thin lines. And then again, don't forget any leaves you have. I start halfway up and connect those. And then this fern, we do the same way as this one. Pull the center. And we're going to connect all of these, starting halfway up that leaf. And then our little yellow babies over here. All right, now we've gotten all the stems painted. Now we're just going to add a little highlight on these stems. So again, we're just going to vary this color. So I'm going to add maybe 2 drops of white to 1 drop of yellow to the green mixture I have left over. Doesn't need to be an exact measurement, right? We're just changing up the color a little bit. So this is a little lighter. I'm going to use the same thin round brush. And we're not going to go over every little piece, but I'm just going to come through and just add some touches of highlight on these stems. So if you see any pencil lines, this is a great opportunity to come back through and just add another layer, cover up some of those, but just varying this color. So wherever you choose to add these little highlights on the stems is totally up to you. Just a little bit here and there, and it just changes the look just a little bit. It adds a little bit of variation, a little bit of color. It makes it more appealing to your eye. What you can also do now that you have this variation in color is come back to some of your leaves, and if you want to or need to define some of those leaf edges, come back through and perfect those. And I'm doing it with this lighter color, so you can give them, you know, an outline. You can just make the shape a little more clear. We're kind of in the finishing touches stage. So all right, now I've got two things that I need to do still. So first is I need to add my little yellow ends over here. And because I'm doing yellow on top of blue, what I need to do first is add some white where it would be over the top of the blue, because otherwise you're not really going to be able to see that yellow. So I'm going to come back to those and finish those last, but I'll be able to put the yellow over those. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, so these were pure yellow right out of the bottle. So now I'm going to get my yellow. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of white. And if you want to, I've got orange on my palette, so why not throw a little orange in there, right? We're just varying up the color. Kind of going for an orange creamsicle color. And I've got a very small round, and what I'm going to do is just come back and I'm just going to tap in a little bit of that varied color in there. All right, so up top here, I haven't gotten my yellow yet, so I'm going to put my yellow. I'll let that dry, and then I'll be able to add in those variations up there. And then maybe I'll tap in, you know, just a spot of orange on some of these. I don't need to do all of them. Just play with it. See vary the yellow, the orange, and the white. So maybe some of these, instead of touches of orange, maybe some are touches of white. So, you know, we're just varying them up a little. And that's pretty much it, guys. And so, of course, what you should do now is sign it at the bottom if you are happy with it. And then I would love it if you would share with me, if you're a part of my group, Painted Cicadas Art and Share, you can post in there, or you can share with me just by tagging me at Painted Cicada. I cannot wait to see what you create. Thank you again so much for helping me reach 10,000 followers, and I hope that you have enjoyed the springtime garden lesson, and I cannot wait to create with you the rest of this year and moving forward. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a fantastic day.